I wanted to see you this one last time.
Finally, I got around to playing this game. Having bought a PS2 for the first time in my life about 3 years ago, I quickly added this to the collection. Keiichiro Toyama, the director of the first Silent Hill, left after the very first game and went on, and years later, make this. Was he able to recreate another masterpiece in the genre? Forbidden Siren, or just plain old Siren in the US, was initially released in Japan November 6th, 2004. Now, I've seen footage of this game for the longest time, and I thought it was a crazy looking game. Granted, I knew almost nothing about it until I watched an LP of the remake, which I will touch on later. My first impressions of this game are, oh my fucking god! What the fuck is going on?
People here are weird.
My initial reaction was to be turned off by it almost instantly. Okay, that's a bit extreme, but let me tell you, their choice of this weird, uncanny valley face projection was an inane choice that ultimately makes it a standout attempt. Listen, these faces are so weird looking, but I really like the vibe it establishes. Something about this just makes it way more bizarre and atmospheric. In fact, this game is one of the most unsettling and bizarro games I've ever played. Here's the kicker. I want to love this game, but fuck, it won't let me!
This is the secret of everlasting life.
Siren does a whole lot right and just as much shit wrong. But the things it does wrong are so outrageous and frustrating. You know this line, the controls. We all know by now that tank controls are our Lord and Savior, and that makes me like its heavenly disciple. So when I say the tank controls aren't great, I think it's a safe bet to trust me. The controls in general are a baseball bat to the knee. If you know the sluggishness and bumbling control of Silent Hill 1, then you'll be right at home playing this game. All actions are slow and exaggerated.
When I'm crouching, you can make me do the duck walk!
I mean, they're so sluggish, it's a real detriment. Along with the slug, they decided pressing the action button to pick items up is too easy, and instead chose to make you use a complete separate menu that freezes the game to do that. Okay. Why? Regardless of that annoying choice, you do use this menu to command the person that is almost always following you. Oh yeah, have fun with the ample amount of fucking escort missions. They're not the worst thing ever, but the NPCs are slow as balls. Generally though, they rarely cause an issue for me. Some of the shit these fuckers say though.
Dummy.
The fuck you just say to me, bitch?
Dummy.
Also returning from Silent Hill is momentum and awkwardly bumping into walls. Bumping into walls in Silent Hill, while a bit of a nuisance, is pretty easily avoidable in comparison to this. It's way too easy to bump into a wall here. Whoa, slow the fuck down. Aw, you ding dong, I told you. There is a strafe, thank the Lord. And you do it by holding L1 and pressing which direction you want to go. And it's slow as balls. A person in a wheelchair could move to the side faster than this. Other than that though, they look and feel pretty much like Silent Hill. The turn arc is much better though. And then what's really weird is since the game actually utilizes the pressure sensitive buttons, it's the only time where I can only play using the joystick. It's that, or mashing down the D-pad with the power of Thor at all times. So one of my biggest gripes that forces me not to love it are the controls. They're like the original Silent Hill, frustratingly not good, except even more frustratingly not good. If you thought the controls were crazy, wait till you hear about how the game plays. So the gimmick, if you'd like to call it that, is the sight jacking, in which you have the ability to see through the enemy's eyes. Let me start off by saying this is such a good concept that I don't really see too often in games. with the exception of everyone's favorite underrated gem, Psyops. Now, while I do consider this a survival horror game on most levels, it really comes off more as a scary stealth game pretty often. The combat? It's survival horror, alright, if you get good. Like me. The combat does become about as serviceable as Silent Hill 1, so it's useful at times when you're speeding through the stage just smashing every shibito in the face, but oh lordy. As for the stealth, I think it creates an adequate stealth game all in all. I personally hate how slow the pace is, but once you get a hold on the game's controls, you quickly learn, more or less, how to be in control. Mixed with quality AI and the sight jacking, it's fun. Some things that in hindsight weren't great decisions, whether it be hardware restrictions or what, the sight jacking is really unintuitive. You press L2 to engage sight jacking, and you're stuck in place, with it being the only thing on screen. We could argue that it was done that way intentionally for difficulty purposes, but I think the better choice would have been having the ability to multitask your movement and the sight jacking. The sight jacking is a really cool idea, but it feels a bit in its infancy at this point. It's a little shy, doesn't feel completely intertwined with the gameplay perfectly. So jumping to the next crazy point, let's talk about how the game's structured. This shit's fucking crazy. What the fuck am I looking at? An Excel spreadsheet? God, what is this nonsense? This game does very little to explain itself, which I appreciate to some degree. I like when a game doesn't just barrage me with endless pop-up tutorials that bore the piss out of me, but this game does so little to explain itself. You end up staring at this crazy fucking spreadsheet with lines and colors and shapes and fuck! It's daunting. So this crazy ass graph pretty much keeps track of what missions you have to do or have done. So at first you just keep pressing forward until suddenly you reach a point where it says,
Loop completed.
That's a weird way of phrasing it, but okay. What the fuck? Why did the game start over? Did I beat it? So if you're like me, you're just getting through the levels as quickly as you can. The game is already hard as fuck, so the last thing I want to do is wander each level to find hidden shit. I just want to get through the levels without getting my dick wrecked. Turns out, you have multiple objectives and key items in each mission that you have to do in order to move forward. What the hell? So the game ends up being structured like the battle modes from Fatal Frame or the VR missions in Metal Gear. I have to say, this was a lot to take in at first. So you end up playing levels 2, 3, and in some cases 4 fucking times in order just to figure out what to do while violently mashing X. And half these items aren't even hinted at. You're just bumbling around just like, I don't know, maybe there's something in this bush over here. The checkpoint system is horrendous, and not always either, just occasionally. I'm not exaggerating here. There were 3 times where I do one of those really obscure objectives only to die later in the level, and it didn't save the part that I did the stupid fucking thing! Unfortunately, all of this becomes a fucking huge problem pretty quickly. About halfway through the game, it comes to a grinding halt. I'm dead serious.
Loop completed. Loop completed. Loop completed. Loop completed. Completed. Loop completed.
It took so long for me to get through most of this because there's barely any direction. The game forces you to be a completionist. Saddle up! You and these levels are about to become well acquainted. Days, times, levels, characters, everything's just going nuts. The difficulty is nothing to scoff at. I think the most of it is just due to the very trial and error type of gameplay, but even then, some shit is so fucking cryptic. One notable moment is in this level where you have to use a code you found on a wall, which you're supposed to know to use on this cassette deck. Listen to the code that it tells you.
6. 6.
Use that code on the shed right outside, take the towel and rope. It's a bit far-fetched already, but I'm still with you. Take that across the level, soak the towel, put it in the freezer, don't forget to plug it in, and freeze the towel. What? Well, it looks like unless you're super good at video games, it's one of those where the fuck's the walkthrough kind of games. The second you miss any important item like a fucking key by a payphone completely out of the way, The second objective in another level is rendered impossible. Why can I even play it then? To waste time? You can't complete this level unless you hit with Yoriko in the cave. Also, you need to have told Risa to go inside the Rokaku house in Shiro Miyata's level in Aruto. How the fuck was I supposed to figure that out? The game does give you hints after playing the level multiple times, but this is so off the beaten path. How would anyone figure this out? My advice? Follow the fucking walkthrough to a T. Don't even stray from a pixel of text on your screen. If you do, may God have mercy on your soul. What's really funny is even the author of the IGN walkthrough I used didn't even enjoy playing the game. You and me both, buddy. On the positive, I actually liked how many playable characters there are. Much like Ju-on, we follow a wide variety of characters. You almost never play the same character twice in a row. Even though it can be kind of hard to keep up on, I really like the feeling it conveys with all these intersecting character arcs. The chronology is all over the place. When I step back from the game and look at it as a whole, it's really cool.
When I first met you, I saw that you had this light around you.
The game will become frustrating. Trying to figure out what to do, sneaking around the dark-ass village while not signaling the townsfolk for a good old-fashioned game of Deliverance is fucking difficult. I lost all my patience and eventually just resorted to using a walk through the second half of the game. Adding to the frustration are guns. Anytime guns are involved, you might as well just get ready to throw your goddamn controller at the wall. Snipers can see you a mile away through dark and thick-ass fog. Okay, fuck this bullshit. 2 shots, you're dead. Stun lock, wow, wow, wow! Half the time, I don't even know where they're at. You get a quick flash of the enemy that saw you, but it's too quick to even orient where anything even was. This is why you need sight jack to not take up the whole screen. Any level you play as Akira, the old guy, you might as well just fucking give up. Acting like it's Time Splitters 2 with its gross-ass spring look. You will contemplate breaking something whenever you have to try to be faster than the enemy snipers. Moving on, let's touch on that story. Toyama once again goes with cults. And you know me, I love cults. Just as this isolated mountain city called Hanyura has a very strong religious influence encompassing it. That has evil power that causes its inhabitants to become these unkillable demon people, or something, called Shibito, which translates roughly to living dead or zombie. These scary-ass things are pretty zombie-like. Now at first, I guess they're kinda creepy. Their animations look a little comical. And they sound like me when you mention girls are near. But boy, was I wrong. So I'm playing, and I reach a stage where my main objective is to drive away the Shibito brain. Okay, I think to myself, what the fuck is that? What the fuck? What the fuck? Needless to say, this shit came out of left field, and I didn't expect it one bit. I let out an audible yelp and screamed, what the fuck is that, when I first saw it. The atmosphere was already A material, but Jesus, this just moved it up a notch on the fear factor. The atmosphere is easily my favorite part about it, especially later in the game. Seriously, once you actually get deep into the game, it gets really fucking good. So story-wise, it's about these people who get trapped in this crazy village and have to survive this fucking nightmare. Some crazy demon god is summoned by sacrificing little girls, other cult things, blah 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 blah, it's raining blood.
Raining blood from a lacerated sky, bleeding its horror, treating my
There's more to it all, but I kind of got lost on the fine details by just refraining from not smashing more shit while playing it. With the very non-chronological events, multiple characters, and even alternate scenarios, it's told in a really interesting way I haven't seen done in many games, if any. Think Pulp Fiction and Silent Hill. The story is a chilling tale that was interesting from start to finish. If you're not big on the occult elements from Silent Hill, well, this probably won't work for you either. That being said, it's way too easy to lose sight of the story the second you're staring at this confusing spreadsheet, replaying levels for reasons not even you know why, other than maybe it'll help you move forward. Finally, I've beat it! Wait. What the fuck? How did we end up here? You fucking tease! This is the craziest thing I've seen. You see the ending, before the end. What? Oh, shit! This game has the freshest jams, boy! So the end is a fucking bait and switch. I was so butthurt I had more frustrating levels to go through. The replayability? 0. Unless you have nostalgia, I can't see replaying this game a common journey people embark on. In fact, this game will probably never see the inside of my slutty PS2 again. So I mentioned that earlier the game does in fact have a remake and a sequel, and the sequel we'll get to at a later point, but as for the remake, I'll touch on it really quick. I haven't played much of it, but generally speaking, it's a fuck ton more accessible. Technically, it's a reimagining. Now, we all know what happened last time someone reimagined a very audience-specific game that I wholeheartedly love. They did a horrible fucking job. Well, fortunately, this reimagining was done by the man and team themselves, Project Siren. Now, I've heard from multiple sources that the reimagining was done under the concept of how America would remake the game. I can't find if that's actually true or not, but it seems exactly like what they were going for. The controls are actually responsive and intuitive for the most part. The format is an episodic setup that is way easier to follow. If I had more time with it, I'd probably recommend it over the original for most people. Fuck, probably everyone. Overall, I can't really recommend this to the faint of heart. This is top-tier gaming. It's frustrating, confusing, unique, atmospheric, and a plethora of other adjectives. Now, I really want to love this game, and conceptually, I do, but playing it wasn't a very positive experience. It just kept ending up with me either being completely stumped or pissed off. Could I look past the flaws? Of course I could, but the ratio of reward to frustration wasn't really good enough to have me come back to suckle upon its teeth. At no point in time would I consider myself to have been having fun. It's not a bad game, it's just so difficult and unforgiving. It's the most not fun thing to play. So, until next time, we get to some golden age horror games. Except I don't know if you call this one golden. I call it shit.